3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Thank you so much for listening. We are the Real Pineapple. This is Hunter, and I'm here with Scott. Scott, welcome back. How you doing?
So good to be back. Thanks for having me back. I always, love talking with the bros, especially when we're talking about the movies that we hate the most of the year. It's always the funnest, and I'm just stoked right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is our most therapeutic podcast of the year, and I'm here with Colin. Colin, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. Yeah, it's great to be here talking about some shitty movies with you guys.
Yeah, we are here to talk about our worst of 2017. We'll have our best of list in March because we want to see some of those Oscar movies that are coming out. So before we kind of jump in here, I just got to give a quick shout out. I might have gotten a little high earlier, and I might have left my phone with my Uber in my Uber, and I was freaking the fuck out. I'm like, God damn it! So the guy was like, "Hey, it's chill. I got you," and he drove it back to me tonight. So Dwayne, you're the real MVP, sir. So thank you for that.
Oh shit, Dwayne Johnson.
I wish. It was Dwayne Johnson from Race to Mooch Mountain when he's a taxi driver, but
quite the pull there.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I know my Dwayne Johnson movies, right? Don't judge me. But so here are the rules here for our worst stuff. Some of these movies that are gonna be on our list, we may not have hated them as much initially, but we might have gone back through, rewatched them, and went, "Oh wow, these are garbage." I rewatched about 5 of the movies that are on my top 10. And it was quite torturous. I watched a lot of shitty shit to get this list together. So basically, any movie from January 1st of last year to the 31st of this year, it qualifies. So even if it's a limited release movie or anything like that, if it releases in that time frame, it counts. So the way we're gonna do it, we're gonna go through our 10 through 6, then we'll do our 5 through 2, and then we'll all go back around the horn for our number 1 movie. So if you lovely gentlemen don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off here with some dishonorable mentions, and we'll just kind of talk about some of the movies that didn't make our list. For me, and I think this might surprise some people, the Emoji Movie didn't make my list. It's a horrible movie. Do not get me wrong. It is a piece of shit, but there were 10 other films that just angered me even more. Snatched with Amy Schumer. Hated, dude. I know. Trust me. Hated the fucking movie. Almost walked out of the movie. Couldn't find room for it in this list. And then Geostorm.
What? That movie is great.
It's horrible. Geostorm is an absolute piece of garbage with horrible CG.
It's terrible.
It's London Has Fallen, except it's a storm. It's
in space.
Yeah, pardon me. Yes, in space. And the last movie I'll mention that didn't make the list, that killed me not to make the list, was this movie called The Layover, which a lot of people you probably didn't even see, but it's with Alexandra Daddario, who was in Baywatch, True Detective, and Kate Upton, where she, the girl with big boobs and runs a lot, whatever. Basically, the movie is about these 2 women who shockingly get stuck in an airport, and they meet some random dude in their layover, and it's about their 15-year friendship being put to the test as they fight over this dude like a bunch of catty fucking 15-year-old girls. It's such a piece of shit movie, and it genuinely hurt to me that I couldn't find a spot for it.
Yeah. I remember you talking about that one. I'm surprised that's not on your list either. I'm intrigued by your list now.
Yeah, me too. I've heard some really horrible movies you just mentioned.
Yeah. So okay, they're for me. Scott, yeah, throw some dishonorable mentions out there.
So the only one that I put down was This one was something that I had seen for the first time this year, and something that was like really built up a lot. This didn't come out until I think it was like I don't even know, like the 80s. The original Blade Runner. I know I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna get some shit for this, but I am gonna stand by my guns on this one. I thought it was so boring and uneventful. I like the new one way better, and I didn't really even like fall in love with the new one. But I just had to put that out there because that was one of them. It's like, yeah, it's one of those movies that you hear about all the time, or like you hear in passing, and it's just one of them. I just never got around to seeing it for one reason or another. I finally saw it. It's like, man, I just built it up a lot in my head. I have to include it. I'm sorry.
I would give you the stunner of all stunners right now.
Yeah.
I like that you just like playing by your own rules. You're just like that, that 80s movie.
This is not really a 2017 movie, but I saw it this year, so this is my list. Play by my rules.
Oh, that's great.
All right, well, good job just getting the rules I mentioned at the beginning there. Good job.
That was great. I loved it.
Well done, Colin. Throw us a couple.
Yeah, I feel bad that I didn't have any room for these movies, but Unforgettable. I just watched that recently.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it has like the same feel and vibe as like a 50 Shades movie. And God, it was just absolutely like unwatchable. It was so hard. I was like, I definitely didn't watch all of it because I just couldn't. But yeah, that movie.
Really, you couldn't finish it?
No.
I saw that in theaters.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was rough.
I hated it. And then there were some that were like I was really excited for, and they really let me down. But I didn't necessarily like hate them. And that would be like a movie like The Circle. With
that wasn't great.
Emma Watson and Tom Hanks. It was just like a big letdown because I thought it was a really good premise and I heard the book was good, and then it just turned out to be like a movie about how like what if everybody had little cameras and there was little cameras everywhere, and yeah, man, that movie was dumb as hell. And then the new King Arthur movie, Legend of the Sword.
Yeah, that was really bad.
That one that one was a total bummer. It had like moments where it had like Guy Ritchie's wit, and it was fun to watch. And but then there's giant like elephants and crazy magic going around, and it was absolutely bizarre. And I ended up hating it. So yeah, those ones didn't make the list. Just slid by.
I'm just gonna throw one more out, The Mummy, because I fell asleep so hard in that movie for the 5 minutes I passed out. And I just could not find room for it on this list. So, anyways, if you find gentlemen don't mind, I'm gonna jump in here with my 10 through 6. So, this is a movie me and Scott reviewed, and I know Scott was like, "Oh, I didn't hate it that much," and I pretty much just yelled at Scott the whole review, talking about how wrong he was. It's my number 10 is Chips. I fucking hated Chips so much with Michael Pena and Dax Shepard, who I don't know how he fucking keeps getting movie roles. It genuinely hurts my head because ever since we Out of Paddle, I'm just like, God, this guy fucking blows, and he just keeps getting movie roles somehow. And he wrote, produced, stars, and directed this shit, and it's just some of the most trite bullshit, really bad stunt work. There's a point where Michael Pena, he like falls down, and Michael Pena has to carry him to the bathtub, and his nutsack hits Michael Pena in the face. It's like, it's just, stop fucking laughing. It's
a good joke.
It's a terrible movie. And then Vincent D'Onofrio, the fucking kingpin, is in it, and like there are shots where he was supposed to be like fatter. You could tell. Like, they clearly shot this out of order. Because, like, there are some scenes where he's, like, 320. And then other scenes where he's, like, 230. I'm like, wait a minute, what? It doesn't make any sense. It's a terrible fucking movie. Fucking hate it. That's my number 10. Number 9, 50 Shades Freed. Just rewatched it last night. It's
darker.
It's horrible.
50 Shades Darker.
Darker, whatever. Oh, that's right. It's Freed. Yeah, I'm playing ahead. I apologize. 50 Shades darker.
You can just go ahead and put that on your next.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can
oh, yeah,
pencil that one in already.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be on there. But yeah, 50 Shades Darker. Everything from the helicopter crash where the news reports, oh yeah, Christian Grey is missing, and he just walks through the door when everyone's waiting for him, like, oh shit, oh hi everyone, like, oh, did I not mention that that time travel exists apparently?
Yeah, but how the fuck did you get there so quick?
Yeah, unless he's Barry Allen. That's like the only other explanation that he's the fucking Flash. But terrible script, some just the unsexiest sex scenes ever. I mean, there's stuff on Cinemax that's better. One of the few laughs I did get at is that Kim Basinger is in this, playing like the woman who fucked Christian Grey up. And there's this point where she gets slapped, and she's had so much plastic surgery, her face just doesn't move, and that made me laugh. I was like, "Oh, that's bad for you." But
Up, man.
Outside of that, man, just one more of these. It comes out in like almost a month to the day.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to get this last one fucking over with, because these movies they're just fucking torturous. And anyways, all right, so that would be number 9. Number 8, The Book of Henry. So we didn't review this.
Oh, did you see that one?
I did see this. So The Book of Henry, really short, is about Hank from Breaking Bad, Dean. I can never remember actors. Dean. Dean North. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Hank from Breaking Bad, and he's like the captain of police, and he has his daughter, and they live next door to Naomi Watts, and basically this super genius kid, and basically the super genius kid figures out that Hank from Breaking Bad is being super chill and raping his daughter, and so before Hank, this is the plot.
Super chill.
And so before he can do anything about it, just nowhere he gets a brain tumor, and the kid dies halfway through. Like, just like 45 minutes in, like, oh, Henry's dead, bye. And so the rest of the movie is about Naomi Watts going through this journal of extremely specific instructions that Henry left for her to kill Hank from Breaking Bad. It's just the most ridiculous premise. And then where the movie ends up, where she's gonna shoot him, and then she, in her head, basically goes, oh, my kid was 11, maybe I shouldn't be listening to him. And he confronts her like, I'm gonna kill you, bitch, and then shoots himself, and then she adopts the kid, and everything's happy. Like, it's the most confusing fucking movie, and it's so goddamn stupid, and whoever thought it was a good idea, the studio should have just said, alright, let's just eat the $10 million loss or whatever the fuck the budget was, because it's absolutely horrible. Number 8. Number 7, Daddy's Home 2. Fucking hated this movie. Just Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell thinking they're funny, and Mel Gibson. They should have just let him go full Mel Gibson and just like start calling girls sugar tits and like trying to being drunk, leaving voice messages. That would have been funny at least. But this movie just, there's nothing good about it. I mean, John Lithgow has one scene of emotion where I went, oh wow, that was actually well done. But everything else, from the bratty fucking kids to the sing along at the end like it's an animated kids movie, to Will Ferrell, just should have been killed like 30 times in this movie, and he's fine. Just not funny at all, and it just continues to show how far Will Ferrell has fallen from using to be like a really good comedian. Just Will Ferrell, we miss you, man. Wish you were in better shit. That's number 7. And my last one for this run, number 6, Mother. You know, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, you know, I fucking hate that movie. Just the most pretentious, just ego stroking, trite bullshit. Jennifer Lawrence, I'm so sick of Jennifer Lawrence. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I think she's just overrated as hell at this point. Javier Bardem, God bless him, he tries so hard in this movie. I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was good in it, but he can't save the movie from just being the most preachy, just non-subtle film that you've ever seen. This movie is about respect the environment, but it's just hitting you over the head with a fucking sledgehammer over and over again. And the last 30 minutes are maybe the biggest what the fuck I've seen in a movie in a decade. Like, the last 30 minutes is insane, and there's no reason for it to go where it goes. And, oh, God, I hate that. Colin, can you talk to me here, because we reviewed that together.
Yeah. So Mother didn't make my list, but, dude, there's no defending that last part of that movie. That movie is fucking crazy as shit. Like, it ends up like a baby gets eaten and torn apart, and there's like an entire war breaks out inside of this house, and it's all like allegory, and it's you're right, it's like pretentious like symbolism bullshit for like, you know, biblical stories. Yeah, it's not a good watch. It's like really, really rough to get through. And then at the end, I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? And it's Aronofsky, right?
It's Aronofsky,
yeah. So, I mean, he's just gone off the deep end at this point. Like, he was doing crazy shit before, but at least it was like, I liked his movies. Like, they were cool. But now it's like preachy, weird shit. And yeah, that movie sucked.
Alright, so that's my 10 through 6. Scott, my friend, let's move on to you. Give us your 10 through 6, sir.
Alrighty. Number 10 is one that I just saw pretty recently compared to when it came out. And honestly, the top, well, I guess you can say, the bottom 5 of my worst of, or more like packed with disappointment.
Okay.
That's generally how I judge a lot of my movies, fair or not. And this has to do with Will Ferrell. Again, we kind of talked about it. I was not a fan of The House.
Ooh, okay.
And it was more of like a disappointment of, like you were just saying, of how far Will Ferrell has fallen. And I don't know, I just feel like he just nabs up that everything that's around him. Just, I don't know, for money, obviously.
True.
What other reason? I don't know. Not for artistic, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Not for himself. So I was just kind of disappointed going, like, at the beginning of that, just seeing him, and I don't know, I must have been in a bad mood, because I was just not feeling this movie at all. There are a few funny parts, but I was, like, rolling my eyes most of the time. Number 9 is one that the series is probably going to end up on multiple bottom 10s. I think it was on my bottom 10 last year. 50 Shades Darker.
Nice.
There's just no reason to keep making these. The only reason is for housewives and people who have nothing better to do during the day to go and get their metaphorical rocks off. I don't know, maybe I don't know, they're jerking off in the theater or something. I don't know, rubbing one out.
Pee Wee Herman.
It's like the books were great for people because you got to imagine your own fantasy, basically, and you put Christian Grey in your fantasy, basically. And so I think when you show that, it's either going to be not raunchy enough for like the general audience. You can't make it so raunchy that nobody can go see it, basically, but you want to stick to some sort of fantasy. So yeah, it was just very dumb. And like there's just nothing about it appealed to me at all. Now number let's see where we're at. Number 8. This was one of the ones that Hunter, you had kind of mentioned. There's certain movies that as the year goes on, they get progressively worse.
Yeah.
And I actually went back and watched this one, and I think I probably would have dropped my grade even more on it, because I didn't love it at the time, but I wasn't mad at it. My Little Pony is my number 8.
Really? Interesting.
It was just, I just couldn't let that slide.
So what happens in this movie? What happens in My Little Pony? Because I never saw it.
Well, after a dark force conquers Canterlot, the main 6 embark on an unforgettable journey beyond Equestria, where they meet new friends and exciting challenges on a quest to use a magic friendship to save their homeland.
And you didn't like it? Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, weird. Shocker. on to my number 7. This one was...
Sorry, just real quick to interrupt you.
Yeah.
So the thing is, Colin, I can't even be mad at Scott for putting it on his list, because we both said we didn't hate it.
Yeah.
But Colin, the music in there, it's... Do you remember, and this is dating myself, maybe because I have a little sister, but when Nick Jr. was around, they would play these really dumb pop songs in between, like, shows. It's like a whole soundtrack of that. It's really bad. And Twilight Sparkle, and there are pony puns up the ass.
So many pony puns. The most pony puns.
So
and they use friendship, and I was asking somebody that I work with who has children, like, so, like, what are these are most of these about, like, friendship? He's like, yeah, they're pretty much the whole show, because this is based off a TV show. It's just about, like, using the power of friendship, and they just made a movie about it. So
yeah, isn't the TV show called, like, Friendship is Magic?
Yes, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Yeah. So literally, friendship is magic.
What? And so wait, tell me why you watched this again.
Because Hunter told me to. This was the one that I was in the Alamo Draft House.
Oh, that's
no, but you
right.
said you watched it again. Didn't you say you just recently watched it, like rewatched it?
Yes, because I felt like maybe I didn't give it. I wanted to go through and try to rewatch some of them, and I just happened to think of this one. I was like, well, I usually don't like these movies, but I remember not hating it at the time, and then when I rewatched it, it just kind of further made me pull to the other side.
That's fair.
Yeah. Great. So okay. Moving on to number 7. This was like so dumb it was kind of funny to me. The Dark Tower.
That's fair.
You've got Matthew McConaughey in this one, just like, you know, clutch Lincoln commercial type Matthew
Dude,
McConaughey.
he is slumming through this movie.
He is. He doesn't give a shit. I mean, Idris Elba is in this, and he's fine. Like, I remember us not having a problem with him. But the whole movie is like, I feel like this is, I believe, based off a book, if I'm not mistaken.
A series of books, actually, which I think is the problem.
Okay. Like, I haven't even seen the book, but I know that people would be super pissed if they saw this and they, like, had read the book, or they were, like, super avid followers of the Dark Tower, and then they saw this movie. I didn't even read the book, and I was still disappointed. I felt bad for the people that were actually looking forward to this movie.
Yeah, our buddy Ryan is a big Stephen King fan, and he read all these Dark Tower books, and he saw the movie.
Oh, he read them through.
Yeah, okay. he saw the movie, and he's like, dude, the movie. He's like, compared to the book, the movie is so absolutely horrible.
Yeah,
he hated it.
I feel like it's one of the ones that could have done better, and that's the sort of a theme for my bottom 10. I have a couple movies that I felt like could have done a lot better, and this is definitely one of them. Just kind of the talent that you have. I feel it's like a football team where they have, like, a bunch of talent. You have star wide receiver, quarterback, like, good D, and then the coach is shit. Or whoever's putting this all together, the GM is like, has no idea of like how to put these players together. It was just like, yeah, it was. I think I almost walked out of this one, but it wasn't because it was mad at it. I just could give a shit about what was going on in this movie. Okay, Dark Tower, number 7. Number 6, following that same thought process, being of disappointment, The Mummy is number 6. It's the same deal with Tom Cruise. Like, he was I just, like, I really wanted to be... This was just one of those movies that I really wanted to be good. And just, I remember, fucking Fraser, what's this?
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
Kelsey Grammer?
I wanted to have that... Yes, yeah. Newman. Yeah, it just was super disappointing that, like, everything was lacking. The CG was horrible. There was just so many things that were distracting in this movie that kept you out of what it actually was. And even if you were paying attention, the whole Egyptian princess like storyline was, I don't know, it seemed like it was really easy, and not a lot of work or effort went into this storyline, and something that I felt like I could have been pretty cool, especially with the money I feel like they probably would have had to invest in something like this. So yeah, The Mummy is my number 6.
Just real quick before you throw the call, I did love Fat Russell Crowe in that movie, but when they make him Dr. Jekyll, I was just like, oh boy, you did not like.
Yeah, just like stuff like that. It's like, really, is that necessary? Is that even like, what is? You just trying to create this whole monsters universe, like just like that out of thin air?
Yeah,
it's just weird.
Yeah, and oh god, that's a really bad movie. Yeah, and there's really nothing about the Mummy. Like, they don't even go into like really talk about the Mummy. It's more about Tom Cruise. It's really bad. But all right, hey, good start to the list, sir. I appreciate it. All right, we're on to the Irish Lass here, Colin. You're 10 through 6, sir.
Isn't Lass like a girl?
Well, you're pretty enough to be a girl.
Yeah.
You're definitely the prettiest of the podcast.
That is true.
Well, see, now I can't even get through this list because I'm blushing. So my number 10 is I've seen a lot of places online that have this like as like the worst movie of the year, and I think it's just because it's so bizarre, and it had so many. Like, Scott, I like the analogy you made when you were talking about, like, how if you have all the pieces to make, like, a great team in, you know, the NFL or any kind of sport, but it just doesn't come together because, you know, management is shit, or, like, you know, like, it has all the pieces, but, you know, the sum of the parts isn't greater than the individuals. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what the fucking Snowman is. Ooh, like, the Snowman is so bizarre and weird and confusing, and it has like a decent director with Thomas Alfredson, who like made like a Let the Right One In, which was an actually like pretty highly regarded horror film. But I mean, you have Fassbender, who is definitely not picking good movies right now. Like, he had a rough 2017, let's be honest.
Dude, X-Men Apocalypse alone.
Yeah, and fucking Assassin's Creed, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was like late 20. Yeah, that was Christmas last year.
Oh no,
yeah.
I think it when I looked it up, it said it was 2017. But
oh really? Oh shit. Well then, damn.
I don't know.
He sucks.
But either way, it was near the end of last year or whatever. But anyway, yeah, he's been picking some bad, like rough movies. But yeah, this movie's just so bizarre. And when you look into it, I guess like what was happening with this movie was they were trying to rush it to get done filming in these Scandinavian countries. I think they ended up getting back to the States to edit it, and they forgot to film like 10 or 15% of the script. So they just like worked around it and just like put all the scenes together the best they could. But I mean, it is edited like the most ADD bizarro world like so movie true. The way it plays out. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. It keeps jumping back and forth from like Val Kilmer playing this old detective, and then it goes to Michael Fassbender, and then you're also making a movie that's like based on a franchise where your main character's named Detective Harry Hole. I mean, come on, man, what are we doing here? It's absolute banana land. So so Snowman's number 10. It didn't like make me angry, and like as I go up this list, like the movies near the top just like made me really angry. This movie was just like confusing and weird as fuck. Number 9, Hunter, you already had it on your list. It's one of these movies that's been a trend lately of studios trying to recreate the success of 21 Jump Street, where you're taking this old 80s show, or you know, when these older shows that have like somewhat of a fan base, and then you're trying to make a movie that's like a blockbuster hit where it appeals to younger kids. Except it's R-rated, which doesn't make any sense. But so yeah, my number 9 is Chips.
I love you. I love you so fucking much.
I don't like. Who the fuck was asking for a Chips remake movie?
Nobody. No, absolutely.
Like, so bizarre. And so you had Chips and you had Baywatch, what were both trying to do the same thing. I thought Baywatch was at least more. It was watchable. It was like better. Like, it didn't make me as angry as Chips. And you touched on it, Hunter. Chips is just like, it's all Dax Shepard. Like, he wrote, directed, produced, and stars in it. God, I mean, who, like, is he the producer because he used all of his own money? I don't see a studio that was like, yeah, we'll fund you doing this all by yourself. But, I mean, it was definitely a cash grab trying to recreate that success, like I was talking about with the 21 Jump Street franchise, which was really successful. But, God, man, yeah, Hunter, you talked about the dumbass jokes. And mostly it was just like, I don't, why is this being made? Like, who wants to see Chips? Does anybody remember Chips? Like, unless you're like an older demographic, which this isn't trying to appeal to, I don't get it. Like, if this is appealing to like 18 to 35-year-old males, which is probably, basically what it's trying to do.
Yeah. Like,
where in that demographic are people like, oh man, remember Chips from the 70s? Like,
and enough so to be like, let's go check out this new movie about
yeah.
it. Like, I loved it so much, I want to see a new movie about it with Dax Shepard.
With Dax
starring,
written, directed by Dax Shepard, and Michael Pena, I guess, also produced it, so he got the other starring role. But yeah, it's just fucking weird that movie got made, and yeah, it was. Yeah, I hated it. That was a hard one to see. Number 8. Scott, you just got done talking about it. I was not a fan of The Mummy.
Nice.
Yeah, Mummy sucks. It definitely could have been good. It annoys me that Universal is trying to create this monster franchise.
It's Dark Universe.
The Dark Universe.
Let's just call it the Monster Universe.
I like that better. The MU Monsters University.
MU, yeah.
Yeah, we shouldn't give them the satisfaction of correctly like referring to their stupid franchise. They're forcing us to watch.
They should just remake Monsters Inc. with these new monsters they're trying to.
Yeah, that would be such a better.
Oh man, right? if they showed up. The little green dude and yeah,
Mike Wazowski.
Yeah, Mike Wazowski. If he showed up, that's a movie I would pay to see. That would be great. Yeah, I thought Tom Cruise like totally mailed it in. That was like his least like energetic like character he's ever played, and I think it's just because he was like he didn't want to be there on set, like making this stupid movie.
Maybe it's because like the entire set was green screen.
Maybe
like this is kind of weird. Like I'm not really into this.
It's all CGI. Yeah, he was like, I'm used to like, can I run really fast? I like running really fast, like on a train.
Right, because like look, we've seen him in like action movies, like action adventure movies, where he's a badass and he clearly is into it.
Yeah, I like most of the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
Like, even the later ones. So, yeah. And then, do we know what the other ones they're going to, like, make work in? Are they going to make, like, a Frankenstein or something?
They're making a Bride of Frankenstein movie, but apparently everyone jumped ship, basically, who wanted to start this, so they just may not even... They might just blow this up and never talk about it.
That would probably be the smartest thing they could do.
I agree.
Yeah, so... And I don't even think I liked the original Mummies that much. I don't remember at this point, but yeah, it's just not an interesting story to me. And yeah, so that movie sucked. Number seven is like probably was like the biggest cash grab of all the movies I have on here, and it's absolutely Shameless, and it's especially because it's geared towards kids, and it's the fucking Emoji Movie.
That's fair.
I mean, oh my god, it's they at least had an opportunity with this movie to like have some like well thought out like clever jokes, and not every joke being like the lowest hanging fruit that you could possibly have, like where it's just the poop emojis on screen, so it's supposed to be funny. and it's like, oh, it's Patrick Stewart, like
Sir Patrick Stewart that you read.
yeah, Sir Poop Emoji.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, and
Nice.
T.J. Miller, like that made me really not like him through the course of that movie, because it's just I can just see him, like all the jokes about like I gotta be meh, like because he's the meh emoji, like
Which is super like original and creative.
oh my god. Oh, it was.
Is he mainly sexually assaulting someone? Is he, like, I mean, allegedly sexually assaulting.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah, that only adds to like how great and shitty that movie is.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're the 20th girl. Meh, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wasn't like that into it.
So it's like the three characters, like High Five, Meh, and Jailbreak, are going around in probably the most lazy backgrounds ever created. Like, especially after, so I saw this movie after I saw Coco, and Coco is like absolutely gorgeous. Like some of the most beautiful, like animated, designed scenes with the land of the dead and everything. It's absolutely gorgeous, and there's so much detail in every shot of where they are in this universe. And then watching the Emoji Movie, I was like, damn, did they like finish this set in like a day? Like it's just like some Matrix lines, and it's like it looks like like an old box, and they're just like walking through and all. I was like, man, this is like the laziest, probably the cheapest thing that they've ever turned out for like a kids movie like this, and it just screams like desperate cash grab, and that shit pisses me off at this point. And yeah, God, fuck the Emoji Movie.
Seconded.
Yeah, and then number 6 is Snatched. I really, really hated Snatched. Like I watched that one in the theater. I couldn't stand it. The jokes were so horrible. I mean, Amy Schumer at this point is just she has to like one up herself, so she's trying to be more raunchy, like. Because I like Trainwreck. Like I think that's a funny movie.
I do too.
I think she's funny in it. I think some of her stuff is funny, but she definitely tries to get the laughs by being super raunchy. And in this movie, it was just terrible. Like, and the way it plays out. I mean, you can listen to our podcast for more detail on why I really, really hate Snatched. But like that was one of those movies where I was like, if I don't have to actually talk about this on a recording, I would be gone. I would have been out the door, and like I was with Nikki too, and I was just like, this is really hard for me to stay in this theater. I just want to get the fuck out of here and stop watching this. And that was probably like 25 minutes in. So
no, I remember in that movie, Amy Schumer does a capoeira kick, and that was honestly, I was like, "Oh, what a movie! You're trying to be the first one for me to walk out of, aren't you?" Because it's really, really, really bad. So I don't blame you at all, dude. That's a good start to the list, man. Mm-hmm. Snatch. I'm happy I got onto one of our lists because that movie really does suck. All right, so picking back up here with my 5 through 2. Number 5, Coon 2, Medea Halloween. just
never gets old.
Dude, I'm so sick of these movies, man. I'm tired. I'm so tired of Tyler Perry. And I'll say it till the day I die. Because cooning and niggering it up with just no consequence at all. Just whether he's talking about Jesus, inserting that randomly into his horror movie, or parodying Get Out in an embarrassing fucking way, or trying to rape someone who's playing a 17-year-old. Tyler Perry is just, he's a cancer. And he just needs to be cut out from Hollywood and sent back to Africa. I'm so sick of this nigga. He just needs to stop making movies and making us sit through them. And just no shame at all. And he's made 10 Medea movies, and the fact that his movies are somehow getting worse is it's almost like a shitty version of Benjamin Button. Like he's going in reverse. Like he's getting worse as a director. It's fucking astounding. And oh, he's so bad, and this movie's so bad, and there's no reason to ever watch it. And same thing as the first movie. Scott, I actually listened to the review of that today, and I was laughing because Scott said it perfectly. He's like, this movie reeks of self-indulgence and egotism. I was like, I couldn't agree with you more, because he loves to hear himself talk. You know, that's 90% of the movie is him talking to himself, and it's painful to sit through. So that's my number 5. My number 4, The Snowman. One of the worst things I've seen in 5 years. Colin, you're right. It was completely unfinished. They just forgot to film scenes. And they're like, oh well, we don't want to spend any more money. Fuck it. Let's just let's like try to piece it together. But it's a mystery. You kind of need all the pieces, and yet they just went, we don't care. It's fine. I don't. You didn't mention this when you brought it up, but the last like fight scene where Detective Harry Hole, good God, just, you know, it's funny. So quick segue here. When I was watching this last night, so by the way, just to show how dedicated we are to this list, I actually bought the fucking Snowman. I had to pay $14.99 because it was only going to be out available to rent for another couple weeks. I'm like, oh fuck, so I bought it, and I'm sitting here watching it. And when the guy says, "Oh, good to see you, Harry Hole," I like stopped. I paused the movie and I looked at my pen. And I was like, "Did I just smoke so much that I'm hearing names now that it's not Detective Harry Hole?" So I rewound it. Oh, Detective Harry Hole. Someone thought that was totally fine to just push forward with. And in Val Kilmer being in the movie, we didn't even bring this up. His voice is dubbed. Like, really badly.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Kung Pao Enter the Fist. It's really bad, and it's done here, like, not for comedy. It's really distracting. So whenever Val Kilmer's there and speaks, you're like, wait, that's not Val Kilmer. And I can't even think of the woman's name or the actress's name. It doesn't fucking matter. I think it's Rebecca Ferguson, but she plays, like, the like Harry Detective Hole's partner, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna catch the killer, and comes up with the dumbest like fucking plan. Like, if you're one of those people who are complaining about Finn in Last Jedi, you haven't seen anything yet. If you see how she's trying to like seduce the killer with this big ass camera that's blinking, it's like, you dumb bitch. It's just such a fucking dog shit movie. It just oh, I fucking hate that movie so much.
And all the Snowman too. I forgot to talk about, like, every time like the killer has been somewhere, he's just left, he like leaves a snowman, and they would always like pan on the snowman's face and like play like a loud like dong, and it was like it was like they did it so many times. It was, and like the snowman aren't scary looking, so it's just like really comical. And I was like, man, this movie's so weird.
And by the way, the reason they they go into like the killer's origin story, and I was like, well, okay, that's kind of fucked up, but not fucked up enough that you should be killing people. And Harry at the very end, at their confrontation, even breaks down like, why are you killing people? And the way he breaks it down, it's like, yeah, why are you killing people? And the movie's like, oh, whatever, goodbye. It's so bad. It's such a goddamn bad movie. So that is my number 4. My number 3, Pitch Perfect 3. Fucking hated this movie. Just these sitting there in the theater for 90 minutes listening to these bitches sing. So Scott, I talked to Colin about this a little bit. Let me go through some of the stuff that happened. So, the Bellas end up on the USO tour because one of the girls in the Bellas' dad helped kill Osama bin Laden. That's how. I'm not even kidding. That's how they explain it. Which by the way, in the other 2 movies was never brought up. They're just like, oh yeah. The girl brings up so nonchalantly, like, oh yeah, did I mention that my dad basically helped kill Osama bin Laden? I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And then so they all fly to the USO tour, and they battle this like country group, this rap group, and this other group called Ever Moist. Swear to God, that's the name of the group. And their leader is oh god, what's the girl from the girl from Triple X? Was turned to Xander Cage with the tattoos.
Great movie.
Is that Ruby.
I forget.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Ruby Scott.
no
Ruby. Yes, Ruby something. But she's like the lead singer of Evermoist, and they cut to Fat Amy, and she's like, "Oh, we're Evermoist," and she goes, "Oh, if my grandma was, if there's a group about my grandma, it'd be called Never Moist." And I'm like, God fucking damn it! Just, I booed at the screen. I won't even lie. When they dropped that joke, I was like, okay, this is not great. John Lithgow is in it too, playing Fat Amy's dad, and so you find out that he's like a villain who is like a terrorist at some point, and Fat Amy's mom left her like $130 million. So then it turns into a spy movie because he kidnaps the Bellas, and oh my fucking god, I hate this. Like, as I'm sitting here explaining, I'm realizing this is fucking
It's the worst plot I've ever heard.
So Scott, there's a point where Fat Amy like is fighting, right? Fighting bad guys, like it's fucking Streets of Rage, right? And they show Fat Amy throw a bunch of wasabi in this guy's face and do a front flip and kick a guy, and I went, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And DJ Khaled is in the movie, and they cut to DJ Khaled so many goddamn times. If you take a shot whenever someone mentions DJ Khaled, you will die, because they say his name. I would take the over at 30 times, like so easily. And DJ Khaled's not really acting in the movie. He just looks at his phone a bunch and then randomly talks to Anna Kendrick's like, "I'm gonna make you a star. Listen." I'm like, oh my fucking god, I hate this movie so much. Just, oh my god, fucking Pitch Perfect 3. God, I should make it my number one the more I'm talking about it, but that's my number 3. My number 2 is a movie me and Scott reviewed, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how many times they need to try. Transformers: The Last Night. It's just so... you have to try to suck that bad. It's just one of the worst fucking things I've ever seen. Whether it's Mark Wahlberg... Ironically enough, they cut to a fridge of Mark Wahlberg's character, Cade or whatever, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm thirsty." And when the Autobots opens up the fridge and it's full of Bud Light, it's like, "Oh, you motherfuckers!" And whether it's that or the little Indian girl who has or Mexican girl, whatever, who has her own little BB-8 that's just clearly there for for merchandising, or Scott, our favorite part where Optimus Prime, who's evil, became Nemesis Prime. And he keeps saying, "I'm Nemesis Prime." It's like, oh my god, this is just the worst movie. And Bumblebee, who they keep going back and forth from if he can fucking talk or not, right before Nemesis is about to stab him, he goes, "Optimus, you're my friend," and just breaks the spell that he was under for the whole fucking movie. It's like, okay, cool. Like, that's where we're going with this. The thing is, man, those movies are just so bad, and no one cares. Honestly, the people at the studio, they're like, "We don't give a shit. We don't have to try." I think it still made like $1 billion. I'm like, oh, cool. One of the worst reviewed movies in the last 20 years. Who cares? People are still seeing it, so suck our dicks. It's just, it's ridiculous that they keep making money and they keep getting made. So, Transformers, that's my second one. God, that's hurt my heart a little bit. Scott, let's go back to you, man. You're 5 through 2, sir.
Okay, so I have a bit of a different recollection about how I felt about this movie, because apparently I liked it better than I do now. But my number 5 is Chips. Like
You liked it more. I remember.
Did I?
Yeah, because I was mad at you. Like, I remember specifically.
I don't remember like liking it. I definitely didn't like it.
You liked it more than me.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But this is something I would never ever see again. Like, this is absolutely something that, like, and I mean, I think it's worth going back and listening to that Chips review, because we really went into like how this is all. I mean, we already have a little bit how this is all revolved around Dax Shepard, him writing and directing and starring, and Michael Pena is kind of a bummer. He's kind of up and down a little bit.
Yeah, he is.
His choices in movies, because there's been things that he's been in that I've really, really loved, like End to Watch, stuff like that. But there's, like Colin was saying, there's no reason to make this. There's no demand for this. Like and that's what's kind of like bittersweet about the craze right now with movies of bringing back older movies and rebooting stuff. It's like sometimes you get good ones that you're excited about, and then other times they pull shit out of their ass that nobody wants to see, like Chips, and surprise, is a horrible movie. So yeah, number 5. Number 4, you just went over this, Hunter, Transformers.
Yes.
This was also like a super good CG movie. And I'm not being sarcastic at all. Michael Bay done it again. The Nemesis Prime thing was like too much for me to handle.
You lost it on that.
You just kept saying it over and over. Like, Jesus, we get it. They don't even look like Transformers anymore. Like, they don't even look like... I don't even know what I'm watching. I have no idea what I'm watching. This one of the guy has like Punish on his knuckles. Like, what the fuck is, like, show me the car or automobile that you came from. I don't know, it was like a tank or some shit. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg, Jesus,
phoned it in.
You need that. Yeah, and they try to make. I remember throughout the movie they try to make this like kind of a father-daughter sort of relationship between Mark Wahlberg and, I'm pretty sure it's Vivian, Laura Haddock. I'm not 100% sure if that's her or not. She looks a little bit old. Anyways, and that, like, this little rambunctious kid and Mark Wahlberg is like her mentor. It was just bad. Like, this is another one. Why are they making these? Who's asking for this? Show me one person that's asking for Transformers: The Last Night, who happens to be, like, somehow they tie this back to medieval time. Like, they have swords. Like, they have like, normally, like 12-year-old Scott would have been like, robots with swords. Like, this is the most badass. 27-year-old Scott would be like, robots and swords? Fuck yeah, I'd love to see that movie. Case in point, Pacific Rim.
Yep.
Hello.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to Pacific Rim. Want to shout that out as much as possible.
Yeah.
I hate Uprising in March, man.
And then, yeah, it was the way that the plot and the way they tried to relate this to some sort of like medieval knighthood is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, sorry, if I can, just real quick.
Yeah.
They have the nerve, and this is just, honest to God, I got up out of my seat. Like, I really thought about it when they basically imply that Autobots were the trains on the Underground Railroad. It's like, oh, you've got to be fucking kidding. Like,
What
like,
the fuck? Yeah, I forgot about that.
That honestly pissed me off in a way. I just, like, I looked at the screen, like, I felt myself twitching, and then, like, you find out that Hitler was killed by an Autobot clock. It's like, you guys just don't give a fuck to me. So just, oh god, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. It deserved that. Okay, my number 3. This was one that, like, I was very unhappy with. And it's the main point and title of this movie doesn't actually happen in this movie. This movie is Geostorm, and I was so pissed that they never even had a Geostorm. There was not one It was like pre-Geostorm. Like, it was like just a little teaser to actual Geostorm. A few things like a few storms across the world. It's like, no, let's see some full force Geostorm, fuck some shit up, kill some people. Let's have Gerard Butler actually do something. And they pulled the cheap trick at the end where he somehow survives, and it made it so much worse.
So cheap.
is so much worse, and the way that they did it was even cheaper. I really didn't like this movie. Just shitty all around. Andy Garcia too was. I don't like Andy Garcia. I haven't seen him in something that I liked in a long time. That's a little personal note there.
He was in Max Steel. I'm over Andy Garcia.
Yes.
Max Steel.
Okay. Yes. Number 3, Geostorm Bad Movie. Gerard Butler. I don't know how he mailed it in that one for sure.
Yes, he did.
Like every other
For
movie
sure.
he does.
Like every other movie does. At least he did, like, take your shirt off or something, bro. Like, let's see those pecs.
Yeah, drop dong.
I'm paying for this.
Dropped
Okay.
on Thundergun Express, that shit.
My number 2 could have easily been my number 1, except that my number 1 was so unique in how bad it was. This movie, Colin, you just got done talking about. This is the Emoji Movie, and
Yep.
Listeners need to go back and I think listen to that review, because I was definitely like more heated and like than I can remember.
Yeah, you
now. Just like a few. There was almost too many things in this movie to jot down. Like, I was trying to keep notes while I was watching this, but there's like too many things that I wanted to remember later that I could tear it apart with. But it's like it's so fabricated for a specific demographic. And like, they don't even do it well to cater to that demographic. Like, just because you say #blessed or OMG or like they like, oh look, there's the poop emoji and he's the funny one of the group. It's, and the fact that he's a meh and like that. God, I fucking hated this movie. I really They have Dropbox in there, Candy Crush, Just Dance, Spotify.
Oh, God. Yeah.
What's this? Facebook.
Shameless.
So it's like there's completely shameless sponsorships throughout this entire thing, which is maybe what it was from the beginning, of just like,
It might have
hey,
been.
like your phone, like the whole this whole what is the name of this place? Something Tropolis, something bullshit.
Oh, Textopolis.
Textopolis,
Yeah.
yeah. Is this whole thing is like on someone's phone. The way that they go about describing not only like how these emojis get there, but like how they're selected, and it's just the most unsensical piece of shit I've seen. And they tried really hard apparently, but it was just, oh man, I hated it. Okay, yeah, number 2. So, Colin, you're up.
Nice. Number 5, I got Daddy's Home 2.
Nice.
I mean, I think we've talked about Will Ferrell a good amount. This year is pretty. I mean, Scott, you had The House on yours, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, you didn't even like that one. I thought that one was definitely better than Daddy's Home 2, but still not good. But
the only reason I don't have that one is I didn't end up seeing that.
Yeah, you don't, like, do yourself a favor and don't ever see it.
Seriously.
Just
listen to our review. You'll be fine.
Yeah, Daddy's Home 2 is so miserable. Like, it's trying to be like this Christmas movie. We talked about all this in our review, and it's trying to be this Christmas classic where they have the families come together, and you have the 2 dads there, and John Lithgow's like like the wimpy daddy who like kisses Will Ferrell on the mouth, and Mel Gibson's supposed to be like this badass. And Hunter, you said like, just let Mel Gibson go, let him be like full crazy, and like you might have a better movie. But the whole movie's like cynical and mean and awful, and it's not heartwarming at all. Like, they try and like tie everything together at the end to be, most of it's really not funny. You have like your basic like tired, old, worn out Will Ferrell bullshit that he does that, like, when I was younger I ate up. Like, I loved that shit, but it's just tired now. And Mark Wahlberg's just kind of there being an idiot like he is, and yeah, he's a trend.
Well, and isn't Mark Wahlberg in this one now like supposed to be like Will Ferrell's friend, so they're not even like
they're like co-dads
anymore.
Yeah, they're like co-dads, and they get along like after the events of the first movie, and they're doing really well. But then once Mel Gibson comes, he starts being like, "This is how you're raising your kids with this idiot," and he kind of like drives a wedge in between them again.
But the thing is, though, Scott, he tells them he's gonna drive a wedge between them. Like, he goes up to both of them, like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna drive a wedge between you." So instead of combating that, they just fall for it. I was like, "You're the dumbest two fucking asshole fathers."
Yeah, it's the most obvious like plot device ever, and it just plays out exactly how you would think. Where it drives a wedge, and then it all gets figured out because John Cena shows up at the end. It's some fucking bullshit.
So bad.
Number 4, it was on. Hunter, you already talked about this, right? Boo 2.
Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
you called it something else, but
Yeah. Oh, did I?
yeah, Boo 2, A Medea Halloween. Yeah, it's we already said pretty much everything that needs to be said about this movie, but it's just Tyler Perry thinking that he's the god of these black comedies, with trying to be the new Eddie Murphy, playing every part like the Clumps. And just doing a miserable job. And I don't want to sit here and watch Tyler Perry talk to himself in a scene for 20 minutes straight. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's just lazy. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I would obviously never, ever see this movie unless Hunter was making me go see it to review it. But so which makes me not like you a little bit as I say that.
Fair enough.
But, yeah, man... It's an awful movie. Dumb plot, dumb resolution to the plot. Just an awful all-around movie. Number 3, I went back and listened to this review, and I was like, oh, I wasn't on this review, and I couldn't remember why, but something must have came up, because I saw this movie in theaters, which is Transformers: The Last Night.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember you not being on there. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I don't know why either, but I definitely saw this in theaters, and I went so far as to watch, because I hadn't seen Age of Extinction.
Oh,
So I watched.
Sorry.
So I watched Age of Extinction like the day before. I think I split it up because I had to, because that movie's like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
It's long.
Which is a fucking crime. And should not even be allowed to happen. Michael Bay is an absolute sociopath that he's making us like watch these movies that are this long, where it's 90% CGI characters that, like Scott, you said, they don't even look like Transformers anymore. Like, how are these things basically like they just turn into a ball and turn into a car? Like, there's no actual moving parts that make sense anymore. Like the most egregious, like, awful thing about these movies is how long they are. Like, to go to a theater, like I said, I at least had the option to like break Age of Extinction up into like 2 hour and 20-minute movies and watch them separately. And then I went and had to sit in the theater for 2.5 hours watching The Last Night, and it's just so exhausting to get through because it's so much CGI.
Yep.
And it's so much of like Michael Bay just all over it, just product placement and sexist jokes and dumbass, like you said, Hunter. He's like making the Autobots kill Hitler and all this stuff. I mean,
I can't. That's just the most ridiculous thing.
Like only Michael Bay would do that shit, and they try and make it cool where it's like, we got dinosaur bots and Merlin. Like, this Stanley Tucci, I remember opening up that movie, and it's Stanley Tucci as
bad.
Merlin, like, just making an absolute clown out of himself. And for like way longer than it needed to be. And I was like, this movie needs to be 2.5 hours so you can have this guy being a clown for 10 minutes to start the movie. Like, get the fuck out of here. So, yeah.
And Sir Anthony Hopkins is in there.
I know. That's so sad.
Such a bummer.
So sad.
Let's just not talk about it.
Yeah, and Mark Wahlberg looks absolutely ridiculous in this movie with his hair, and like he looks like they just give him a spray tan in between every single scene. It looks absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I hate that movie. But I hated it slightly less Then my number 2, which is 50 Shades Darker.
Ooh, yeah.
And at this point, like, and I hate it because, like, in a month, I gotta go see the next one. And just, like, the thought on my mind that that's what I have to do just like, it just brings back all these, like, horrible memories of seeing the first one and then seeing the second one last year. And they do this thing where it comes out in February, right around Valentine's Day. So, like, anybody, like, that's, you know, you got to take your girl to go see it. And it's just the biggest trap into seeing, like, just dog shit just thrown on the screen. Where it's like, you said, Hunter, it's like, it's not sexy. It's just, like, weird and awkward. The lines are so cringeworthy. I mean, the dialogue in these movies is so bad. I cannot even, like, I'm thinking about the next movie and I'm just like, oh my god, it's gonna be more of the same shit. It's gonna be these, like, these lines that are, like, so, like, they think they're so fucking clever and they're like a little wink and they say, like, oh yeah, you know, I fuck hard, you know. Dude,
I want to see my red room.
Oh, that we keep your Xbox or whatever? Yeah, just get the fuck out of here.
Your natty light.
and then, yeah, and then this last one, I mean, the whole helicopter thing, and then he, like, shows up, like, all of these inconsistencies, it just screams laziness, you know. And they had gotten, like, a new director for this one. I don't even, like, care to look it up at this point, but I know they were, like, trying to, like, make it into a better movie. And clearly they failed miserably. It's the number 2 worst movie of the year, in my opinion.
Look, the one thing I'll say that's good about this last one coming out is Black Panther comes out the week before, or a week after. That's all I keep telling myself.
That doesn't make me feel any better.
It makes me feel a little better. Like, sometimes, you know, you gotta go through the rain to get through rainbows.
Fair enough. That's beautifully put.
Thank you. But... all right, so there are a lot of bad movies this year, a lot of bad film, stuff that made me really depressed to go back and rewatch, stuff that really made me question why we keep doing this. But
damn,
but
sounds like the beginning of my Medea review.
But there is no movie that made me question why I'm a film critic more than Diary of a Wimpy Kid, yes. The Long Haul. I hate this movie more than life itself. Sometimes I just could not understand how a studio went, cool, like, saw the finished product and went, yep, let's push this out to the masses. Like, you know, hey, we could just count, you know, just count our losses and just not release this. No, people want to see this, it's fine. Just whether it's the dad being this total pussy or in getting the car stuck in mud and the guy and them standing, like, right by the side of the car like fucking dumbasses and having mud sprayed all over him, to the kid winning a pig at a county fair even though there's no fucking reason to be giving pigs away, to the kid's dumbass YouTube inspiration, that's how Doobie do it, or how whatever the fuck he said. Just, to this family that is like the inbred family from that X-Files Home episode, chasing these people down, where the dad wants to, like, rape the kid maybe, or, like, eat him, or don't really say, but he's gonna do something really terrible to the kid when he catches him. To the most cringe-worthy karaoke version of Spice Girls Wannabe. I wanted to be anywhere but my home when I was watching that scene. Just it's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Like, if I had to make a top, like, 20 list of worst things I've ever seen, it would be on there. Like, I couldn't believe how bad this movie was, and Scott put it perfectly. Greg is always talking about how
fucking Greg.
It's so hard being a kid, and he's just a little fucking douchebag who's gonna be in the next fucking Bumblebee movie this year. Which is like, oh great, get to see your dumb ass again. But just this punk ass little kid who Oh, on top of that, ends up riding a boat to his Mima's pool that just detaches and goes off a fucking Hayes Hill or whatever the fuck. Just one of the worst things. Just.
That's the movie that I expect to hear sound effects in, like wah, wah. Like I'm very surprised they didn't throw a few of those in there. Oh, look like we're in it again.
So I always say, like, I still think to this day our Winter Soldier review is the most positive review we've ever been united on. This is probably the most negative review we've all been united on. That was like therapeutic for all of us to just talk it out, because we all just found different things to hate about that piece of shit. So fucking hate that movie. So yeah, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul, I salute you. You're the worst piece of shit of 2017. So congratulations, you fucking assholes.
That's great. Loved it.
All right, Scott, you're number one, sir.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up that movie and that's your number one, because there's a few movies that fall through the cracks. Like throughout the year, we see so many movies that, like, especially the bad ones, you try to block out and like, well, I don't ever want to think about that again. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, that would definitely at least be on my honorable mention. But yeah, 100% agree with you about everything you said. That was such a bad movie. My number one, something we have already talked about. I knew from the moment that I saw this, maybe within the first 10 minutes, this was going to be my number one. Boo. Tyler Perry's Boo.
I knew that was going to be your number one.
I did too.
I couldn't leave it off, because there are a few times when I get really angry, and two, when I get angry like on the show, like recording, and it's a bit of an experience. I feel like people need to go listen to that recording. But it like, I think like how pompous Tyler Perry is what really pisses me off. He's like the Kanye of movies, like in the way where he thinks he's a genius, and so he just keeps like making all of this shit. Now that's more of a diss on Kanye than it is the other way around. But like, it's just how full of himself he is. It's so evident within this movie, because probably half of this movie is them sitting around the living room, him sitting around the living room talking to himself, and like making these explicit remarks about young girls, and like not only that, but like the frat boys, they're also trying to get with these 18-year-olds. Then they've got a like super cool YouTube star in this too. Like it's about the frat. I don't think the sets have changed. We talked about this, like he would be a genius if I come to find out they were using the same damn set that they've been using the entire
from
time.
back to back.
Back to back. Like this has been out for like a year already, and he waited to release it.
I believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's like a few things that little things, like they censored this movie like after the fact.
Yeah.
They like dubbed over it at a few places, and that was super distracting. The way that it was pieced together, like they would see a ghost or something that was supposed to be scary, and then they would cut to the car, and they would talk for like 15 minutes as he like tries and fails to hit on these young girls, and then they switch back to it and like, was that a ghost over there? It's like, yeah, this seems like a normal set of circumstances for anybody to find themselves in. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much because we've already kind of exhausted it. Feel free to go check out the review, but this is absolute. I mean, I've probably seen, a few movies in the last 5 years that were worse than this one, but this one stands alone. Yeah, fuck you, Tyler Perry.
Nice.
All right, and last but certainly not least, Colin, my friend, your number one.
Well, Hunter, you're gonna like my number one, because it's the same as your number one.
Oh.
And okay, I don't even think it's like appropriate to say that this was like the worst movie of 2017. This might be like the worst movie of the decade. Like, in my opinion, this was like,
damn.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul. Like, I didn't even know movies could be this bad. Like, I mean, there's like Oogie Love, and then like I don't think since Oogie Love have I seen something that was just like was completely dumbfounding to me while I was watching. I was like, I don't know how people made this, and like they weren't completely embarrassed to put it in theaters. I mean,
Oogie Loves, damn.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about you did a great job of kind of recapping a lot of the stuff that we talked about during our podcast, and that is a good listen. That review of Diary of a Wimpy Kid: The Long Haul, like you said, Hunter.
The diarrhea.
Yeah, the diarrhea of a Wimpy Kid.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best when you said, like, we were so united in our hate and just, like, our overall agreement of how bad this movie was. I mean, just thinking back, I couldn't think of anything that could surpass it, and it's number one. I do think, like this would be a fun one, like, the next time we're all together, this would be a fun one to just, like, crack open a couple cold ones, pop in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul. Like, this is a movie that's so bad that, like, I think it could be, like, fun and funny to watch again, because it's just so terrible. Like, so terrible. Yeah. But, yeah, that's my number one. It's been
I can't believe I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was... Man,
that was a bad one.
Long Haul, man.
That was really bad.
I'll be honest with you. At the moment we were done reviewing that, I said I don't think anything's gonna knock that out the number one spot.
Yeah,
like that. That was pretty much solidified.
The whole premise of that movie was like, I'm a kid. It sucks.
Yeah.
That's the whole movie.
What was he? He was like Diaper Hands or something stupid.
Diaper Hands.
Oh
yeah.
God, that was like the whole point of the movie, is that like he had to like get his cred back. He's like
from this fucking like YouTube gamer or something like that.
He's like, oh, if I meet this YouTube gamer, everyone will love me again. Oh God, I want to buy a copy of this Blu-ray just so I can just like destroy it and like beat it with like a bat, like Office Space style.
Ooh, I would love to just go ham on one of those. We should definitely watch it. We should all watch it and then all destroy it together. That would be so great.
That sounds like a good time.
You could Mystery Science Theater 3000 the shit out of this though. Like it's one of those. Like, Colin, you bring up a great idea. Like, this is one of those movies you get a bunch of your bros around. Maybe do a double feature of this and 9 Lives.
Nice. That would be a good watch, especially with Kevin Spacey now.
Yeah, that is. Oh, wait, did something happen with Kevin Spacey? Or?
No, it's cool.
No, actually, I don't remember what I was talking about.
I just think he's, like, a big fan of young people.
Dude, what if they subbed in Kevin Spacey for that creepy dude in Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
Ooh, that becomes legit scary.
Wow.
Kevin Spacey was trying to hunt this young kid. I just wrote the sequel, but yeah.
That whole like plot within that movie was just the most ridiculous thing. This grown man like chasing after this young boy.
God. Good God, it's
so bad.
God, such a bad movie. But we will all have to watch that together. That does sound like fun. But guys, that is it. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to our worst of. As I mentioned, we'll have our best of first weekend of March. We'll have that list up. Still got some stuff to go ahead and watch there for that. So let us know what some of your worst movies are. I'm curious to hear what some people's worst of are. I've heard some people say Justice League, which I think is insane. I heard a lot of reviews that said Baywatch. I'm like, really? If that's the worst movie you've seen, you got off easy, because
we all did that one together, correct?
I believe we did.
Baywatch.
Yeah, I think we all did.
It was pretty middle of the road, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't like it, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's no Dirty Grandpa, but it wasn't terrible.
But then again, what is dirty grandpa?
Yeah, thank you.
But
It stands
guys,
alone.
let us know what your worst movies are in the comments below. Follow us here on SoundCloud, Podbean, iTunes, and Google Music at The Real Pineapple. You can like us
Got you covered.
Yes, sir. You can follow us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. Follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at
Newman the First.
You can follow Colin on Twitter
The
at
Real O'Neill.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up this weekend for The Shape of Water, which I'm so stoked to talk about, and Molly's Game. And I think The Post comes out this week, wide release, so I'm going to make a point to go see that too. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Later.